In today's video, I want to talk about a retirement planning fail. Now, what do I mean by a planning fail? Well, when the clients gave me all their information and their projected retirement date and what they wanted to do, the math just wasn't mathing. I don't think their odds of succeeding with that plan were very good. So we looked at some alternatives that they could do instead that would turn it into a success. So I want to run you through this today. What was it that made it a fail? What could they have done differently? And can we do differently so that they can succeed in retirement? And these are pretty high net worth clients. They came in with over $2 million in investable assets. So you might be kind of scratching your head, well, why would that be a fail? Let's just run through it. My name is Scott Caulfield. I'm a CPA and CFA charter holder and the founder of Sophos Wealth Management. This is a married couple. They wanted to retire at the end of 2027. If we project out into 2027 under just kind of reasonably baseline assumptions, they'll have about 2.8 million in investable assets. Their effective tax rate would probably be around 17%, a little bit unknown with potential tax changes and where their income's at, but that's a decent number for their planning estimates. So, based on where they're at today and what we had looked at, some of their tax returns, what they were saving, what they kind of think they were spending, we think their spending need in 2027 will be around 235. Today it's kind of closer to 215, but we expect some inflation between now and then. Their after-tax Social Security at that point in time, assuming kind of another little inflation adjustment, probably around 65,000. So that means and they don't have any other funding sources for retirement. So the rest is going to come from the portfolio. They're going to need an after-tax portfolio withdrawal of just under 170,000. So pre-tax, they're going to need to take out almost 205,000. Almost all their assets were in taxable retirement accounts, tax-deferred retirement accounts, meaning like IRAs. When we pull that money out, they're going to have to pay taxes on it. Now, that is a withdrawal rate of 7.31%. If you might be familiar with some of the safe withdrawal rates, a 30-year safe withdrawal rate, initially was supposed to be around 4%. That's really been updated to closer to 5% by the creator of that, Bill Bangett. I'm a big fan of his. But 7.31 is a number that would scare me, and I would classify that as a fail. As a quick aside with these safe withdrawal rates, I kind of like this chart. It shows what safe withdrawal rates are on the bottom axis there. So the 30-year safe max, these are what historically they've been in the US. And then it actually plots that against US stock valuations. So in this case, it's the Shiller-Cape ratio. And what you're basically finding here is you've got safe withdrawal rates between about 4.5% all the way up to 13%. Most of the low safe withdrawal rates have occurred when valuations of stocks are relatively high. So, around 15, 20, as much as 25 was that Shiller-Cape ratio. Higher it is, more expensive the stock market is. And almost all the really high safe withdrawal rates have occurred when stock markets are at or below average. So anywhere from, 5 to 15 on that Shiller-Cape. Now, it's kind of important to note because today the Shiller-Cape is literally off this chart. It is almost 38 today. Meaning, more likely than not, you would want to plan for a withdrawal rate on the low end. But I kind of come back to that 5% as a benchmark. So we are well over 5%. That 7.4%, really anything over 7 would put you to be a retirement fail over half the time, meaning you would run out of money. It wouldn't last a full 30 years. And in fact, a lot of times, if you really dig into the numbers, it might run out in 18 years, 20 years, which is just not a scenario I would want a client to run into. So what could we do to adjust for this? Well, the first easiest lever to pull is what if we could just reduce spending? If their spending was not 215 today, and in fact was, let's say, 170,000, still a relatively high level of spending compared to most, but a lot of belt tightening for this couple. Well, that would mean their future spending rate in 2027 would be around 185,000. Their portfolio after tax need would go way down to just under 121,000. portfolio withdrawal around 145,000, and then a withdrawal rate a little over 5%, 5.19. But in that case, you're getting close enough, and they have some other unique aspects to them that I would actually be comfortable with that 5.19%, especially because I think it's possible that it's not going to be a full retirement. They may have a few years of additional income coming in that can kind of help. And as a married couple, it's unlikely that both would outlast 30 plus years. This is a much better scenario. So they'd be able to retire at 66 and 63 with lower spending. The other easy option, but not very pleasant, is to delay retirement. So if they were to delay until 2031, their investable assets would actually compound all the way up to 3.8, almost 3.9 million. Compound interest is an unbelievable thing, especially once you've accumulated a lot of assets. Now, their spending need in that scenario continues to go up. So it's 264 in 2031. Their after-tax Social Security is quite a bit higher, over 100,000. And that would result in an after-tax portfolio withdrawal need a little over 160,000. Their pre-tax withdrawal about 196. So it's about a 5% withdrawal rate, and they'd be ages 70 and 67. That scenario looks like that would last. Also, 30 years would put the older spouse at 100 by then. So, you feel pretty confident with a rate like that. Now, how did this actually play out? One of the things that we found, and this is why, I think planning should be thought of as kind of a living, breathing thing. It's not just a static, set it and forget it, and they're never making any changes. As we looked through all their spending stuff and we went through these numbers together, they said, oh, well, our spending ended up not being as high as we had maybe initially thought. And, this is some of our first work together. So over the next year, they're going to track their spending much more closely. So we'll know how much did we spend in 2025 and what are the adjustments to it. And our initial thinking is that the spending is going to be much closer to around 175,000, maybe even 165,000. They came to that before I'd even shown them the reduced spending number, which is pretty incredible that they might just, without making any real life changes, be right where they need to be. Now, when you're at or near retirement, it is tough to make some of these adjustments. Your investable assets kind of are what they are. Do your best to save for a few years, but if you've got a $2 million portfolio and you're saving 20, 30 grand, it just doesn't move the needle that much. Now, not withdrawing off that $2 million portfolio does move the needle, hence delaying retirement can help. And then not spending as much for the totality of your retirement obviously moves the needle a lot. That's where, half the equation of your withdrawal rate is coming from. So, the biggest factors you can basically do are delay retirement or reduce spending. And often, that's just kind of a rock and a hard place for people who want to retire. That being said, it is so much better to go into these things clear-headed with open eyes. It is much easier to continue working an extra couple of years than it is to retire and either reduce your lifestyle or have to go back to work. That is kind of the nightmare scenario. I hate seeing people that didn't properly plan out their lives have to really pull back or move out of their preferred retirement destination, move out of their home, make some uncomfortable life decisions. So, I encourage you to do some planning around your situation, get an idea of where you're at, where you need to be at, kind of track that spending, track those assets, get an idea of what your future Social Security and other sources of income are, so you can start having an idea of what you need for your retirement. Hope you found this video helpful. Encourage you to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share with anyone else you think would benefit. Thanks a lot.